Welcome back to the Grow Your Nutrition Business podcast. At Healthy Steps Nutrition, we believe something as fundamental as nutrition shouldn't be complicated, which is why we focus on a simple, habit-based approach. We know that helping your clients become the best and healthiest versions of themselves isn't just about what they eat or coming to the gym a few hours a week. We, as gym owners and coaches, have to focus on a holistic approach, looking at support systems, stress management, sleep, mindset, lifestyle, and of course, exercise and nutrition. I'm your host, Nicole Coyne, registered dietitian and founder of Healthy Steps Nutrition, CrossFit HSN, and HSN Mentoring. I'm also the author of The Basics of Nutrition Coaching, CrossFit Preferred Nutrition course. In this podcast, I'm going to teach you how to make one step at a time to becoming the best nutrition coach and building an awesome habit-based coaching program. Today's guest is Tim Schurrer. He knows what it takes to build a winning team. He was the COO alongside best-selling author Donald Miller to run StoryBrand as well as Business Made Simple. In his time working with StoryBrand, he went from $250,000 company to over a $16 million company. You can imagine he had a lot of roles and tasks that he was assigned to doing, and his position probably evolved over the years to ensure that company was set up for success. One of the things that he did was hire every single person that worked for StoryBrand. In today's podcast, we talk about his journey working with StoryBrand and how he really instilled company culture while working for them. He just released a book on May 17th called The Secret Society of Success. He talks about what success looks like and redefining success so that you can live a purpose-filled and driven life. We talk about some other topics that he finds in society and leaders, something called the spotlight mindset, how to avoid it, how to identify if you are falling into those categories. And lastly, we talk about humble confidence. I am so excited for Tim as he releases this brand new book, and I'm so excited about his new adventure. He has such a great background to help leaders understand how to build winning teams and create a culture that people want to stay in. I think as business owners, we can all learn a little something from today's conversation. Make sure you tune in till the end when I talk about how this applies to you owning a gym with part-time employees, as well as hiring nutrition coaches to be on your team. All right, enjoy this week's episode. Tim, welcome to the Grow Your Nutrition Business podcast.
I'm so fun to be here. It's going to be fun. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to be here with you talking today. We've known each other for quite some time since StoryBrand became a guide, I think in 2017, 2018. And you've been around StoryBrand for forever and learned so much with that. Now you're writing a book about basically how to define success and live a purpose-filled life.
Isn't that wild? I never would have imagined that I would be on this journey, but spending almost a decade working with Dawn and really helping grow that business, I've gotten to learn a lot more than I even realized. This is definitely my master's degree. I didn't ever finish college, but getting to jump right into the business space, I've learned everything that I could have possibly imagined. And what's beautiful about it is there's always something more to learn. So I'm somebody who is all about continuous improvement, get 1% better. And now I'm trying to take everything that I've learned about what it looks like to build a winning team, create a culture that people really want to work within, and how we can then set people up to be their best. That's kind of the space that I'm really wanting to live in and lean into in this next season, post all things StoryBrand and Dawn, which is, again, just wild to even say that, because after you work in that environment for like 10 years, it's like, this is what I do. This is my thing. And now I'm kind of chasing a new dream.
I think most people don't, at least in our audience, we talk about StoryBrand all the time, but a lot of people don't really understand how quickly that company grew. And you were a part of the operations of figuring that out. I mean, there are very different problems that you have as a $200,000 company than a $16 million company that you're figuring out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So when it started, it was Dawn and I. That was it. And we were really focusing on another division or product, if you will, for the first couple of years. And it was about 3 years into it that StoryBrand really came to life. And so that was, you are right. You are solving a different problem with a team of two to then a team of 5, 6. And then when you're running a team of 30, and it is very different. And, but what I love about it is for us, we experience just steady growth. And it's such a gift to have that. So many people want to grow so fast. And sometimes I just want to say, be careful what you wish for, because there is a foundation that can be set when you grow a little bit every year. And to go from when I first started with Dawn, we were in that $250,000 a year space to, 10 years later, 16.5 million. So you have a decade to experience that growth. And that time was a gift because you get to figure out problems along the way. And I actually love this quote. The CEO of Spotify, Daniel Ek, said, "The value of a business is the sum of all problems solved." So this idea of like the value of a business is learning to solve problems. And so you just graduate into solving different kinds of problems and kind of figuring out one day at a time.
I love it. And basically, you've taken all of that to write this book and really help people understand, like, what does success look like and how do you build your life so that you're super fulfilled? Why this book and why now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, one thing that I have learned in running a business is there is nothing more important than the team, talent management, especially as leaders. The difference between having a great team and not a great team, really the difference in that, if you have one versus not, will really determine if you're going to be successful in running that business. And so much of what I spent my time doing was not only pulling in the kinds of people that really worked and people that we really wanted to lock arms with to help us chase down these big goals and dreams and ambitions, but it's also the culture and the environment that we are creating within that. And so there are a lot of company cultures that did not function like ours did. And when I was COO, I did all of the hiring. And one day there was a resume, an application came through. On this person's resume, they had one of my favorite companies listed. I couldn't wait to talk to them and find out what it was like to work for this brand that I just truly, truly loved. And if I would say the name of this brand, everyone listening would know the brand, likely owns products from this brand. I won't, because I'm about to not say kind things about them. But so they're in this first interview. I'm like, tell me everything. And they said something I'll never forget. They said, it's a really competitive environment, but here's the deal. Nobody there has your back. I'm like, what do you mean nobody there has your back? And in this particular company, the culture that was created, people were so interested in their own climb, their own journey and climb up the ladder that they would never do anything, be it giving recognition or credit to somebody else, or even contributing to other people's projects unless it had something to do with serving their own agenda. And that to me is just not what it looks like to build a winning team or a healthy company culture. The cultures that I'm actually most interested in creating and inspired by are the ones where people are all about the assist. They're willing to help one another, even if that means just serving somebody else's agenda and not necessarily advancing theirs. And so there's all these different ways that so many of us define success. And a lot of these definitions are really almost given to us by culture, almost like subconsciously. We don't even realize it until we really stop to think. The way that we define success is often from how culture is defining it for us, which is success looks like stepping into the spotlight, climbing the ladder, being the boss, fame, money, power. These are the definitions of success that we're being handed. But I've just discovered over the last 15 years of my career, there is a group of people that are defining success very differently. And so as I started to uncover these stories and apply them to my life and apply them to our company, I just realized, holy smokes, we could be doing this very differently. And so that is really what this book is all about, is just helping more of us look at success and our aspirations in that regard, but to look at it through a little bit of a different lens.
It's so interesting. You mentioned something a couple minutes ago. You said, society defines success as a certain thing. And I think for business owners, so many times we define ourselves as the success in our company. And we wrap up like everything, our identity in this one thing. But what if success is like so much bigger than that? Your work-life balance, which seems like such a contrary thing to say, compared to what society tells us. Like we should just work more, be more, do more. When in reality, it's like, wait a second, what if we're just helping other people in our company level up so that we can all service our customers better?
Yeah. So there is a temptation in running a business, especially if you're looking around to your friends and, who happen to perhaps be fellow business leaders. You see them growing, you see and hear about their revenue. And so it almost feels like there is a chase for more, for that next level. And the thought, the hope is that, okay, if we can just go from, 200,000 in revenue to $1 million or to a 2 million or to a $10 million company, that's it. Like we will have made it, arrived. Our problems are finished. And it just doesn't happen. That's not true. And in fact, every level, there's always another one. And so the question I think so many of us need to ask is, why do we want more revenue? Why do we want more employees? Like, what is the whole thing about? And really to just ask the question simply, what is success? Because I think so many of us are looking for the thing that will ultimately make us happy, for us to feel fulfilled. And yet we just don't know with clarity how to define success for ourselves. And so one of my favorite stories and concepts in this book is from LeBron James. So you've got LeBron, and in 2020, LeBron and the Lakers won the NBA Finals. So they give a trophy out to the team at the end of the season, but they also give a trophy out, the NBA does, to the scoring leader, the person in the NBA at the highest points per game average. So it's a pretty big deal to be the scoring leader. Michael Jordan won that thing, a record-setting 10 times. But what's interesting to me is in 2020, LeBron didn't win the scoring title. And in fact, he wasn't even in the top 5. But LeBron actually led the league in assists, meaning the way that he chose to play and ultimately how he and his team won was that he didn't go solo and just take over games and do it on his own. He set his teammates up to score. So the lesson here for us is, what if success is in the assist? So many of us are thinking so much about our own problems, our own priorities, that we just forget to realize that it is our job as good teammates, be it leaders or whether you're just a member on the team, is to set others up to win. So what if rather than obsessing over all of our own things, we started to even just invest a little bit of our time setting somebody else up for the assist? So that the thing that I'm learning from LeBron, who I would consider to be in the secret society of success, is that we can redefine success through the lens of, what if success is in the assist?
I love that. And contrary to being in the assist, you talk about the spotlight mindset in the book.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about what that means to you and why leaders find themselves in that position sometimes.
Yeah. So if we want to be in the secret society of success, that there is one thing that I think is really holding us back from that. And it's the spotlight mindset. The spotlight mindset is, I just define it as this unhealthy desire for attention and recognition. And I think all of us are caught up in the spotlight mindset. And so I'll even just tell you, here's a few symptoms of the spotlight mindset. And it's important for us to identify this in our lives, because if we don't learn to identify it, we don't know how to make a change. We don't know how to step into a new way of living. And, so a few of these we've kind of hinted at, talked around some of them, but here's one: striving. Do you struggle to find contentment in your life? Does it lead you on a restless pursuit for more? That's the next revenue level, right? That's everything we've been talking about. Striving is a symptom of the spotlight mindset. Comparison is another. Do you wish you were someone else or wonder how your success stacks up against others? Are you jealous in a way that gets in your way? Gosh, okay, I've read two. And for me, definitely moments in my life, check, that has shown up in my life, right? Yep. Here's another one: damaged relationships. Does money, fame, or status trump other things in your life? Are your relationships suffering because of it? And a mutual friend of ours, Michael Hyatt, in one of his books, he actually talks about a failure from early on in his career. And it really speaks to this example, though. Michael is at the time given the opportunity to run a division at a book publishing company. And at the time, this particular division was ranked 14th out of 14 in all of the significant metrics: team morale, revenue. They were at the bottom. So Michael tells the then CEO, give me 3 years. Give me 3 years, I can turn this thing around. Well, in only 18 months, he turns the business around. That division that he's leading is now at the top. Team morale, revenue. They couldn't stop winning. Michael gets a bonus check that he said was greater than his annual salary. And he couldn't wait to get home and tell his wife about it. He knew she'd be thrilled. His wife was his biggest fan. But the conversation he has with his wife is very different from the one that he was expecting. So he gets home and sits down with his wife, and she says, "We need to talk," which is not a great start, right? That's
not the best start.
Not good. So with tears in her eyes, she continues to say, "Your 5 daughters need you now more than ever before. And in fact, I feel like a single parent." So here Michael was having all the success he could imagine at work, and yet relationships with the people that mattered most to him were suffering. Michael was caught in the spotlight mindset. He didn't even know it. He didn't even have that language, but that's what it is. Our version of success that we are actually living may be very different from what we would actually want to live. And so, just to close the loop on that Michael story, Michael has learned to redefine success. And he actually wrote a book called Win at Work and Succeed at Life. He calls it the double win, right?
Yep.
These things can go hand in hand. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. So what if success for us looks like changing the way that we navigate and even think about our lives and our careers? So that's just a few of them. In the book, there's 7 symptoms that I walk through, and I would imagine most of us are caught up in this spotlight mindset, this unhealthy desire for attention and recognition. But the hope is that we can start to see where that shows up in our lives. And as a result of that awareness, we start to take steps towards learning to live in the way of the secret society, because I feel like that for us is going to set us on a much better path.
I think what's super interesting. So with Michael Hyatt, the reason why I was attracted to him and we hired him to be my mentor for so long is because he is so good at work-life balance. And it's in the culture in their business. They've just done an incredible job, not only through the books, but also helping business owners one-on-one. Such a great story. I'm glad you brought that up. I think sometimes as business owners, we think, hey, we have to be the ones to do it all. When in reality, if we do this assist, we are really able to help other people step up out of their comfort zone. They have a different perspective, a different lens on situations, and the end result ends up being so much better And it's less pressure on us as business owners because we don't have to know everything. Let's set up our team to be successful in what they strive and are so passionate about.
So much of what we talked about in StoryBrand was the idea that your company is not the hero. Your company is the guide and your customer is the hero. Like you are to be the Yoda to Luke Skywalker, right? I think the same is true for us as leaders. Our employees, our team members are the hero, and we are to be their guide, help them on their journey and their path to develop and to, learn and have the kinds of careers that they are aspiring to. And there's this beautiful intersection that happens where the company need and the employees' desires and aspirations intersect. That's where some really beautiful things can happen. The reality is sometimes where the company is headed and what the employees want, they don't stay on the same track. They kind of deviate from one another. That's okay. Mm-hmm. It's totally fine. When I worked at Apple, one thing that we used to say is they wanted Apple to be a great career experience. And that's one thing that I would say to people at StoryBrand all the time as well, which is, hey, I don't know how long you'll be here, but for as long as you are, and when you look back on your time here, I want you to see this and think of it as a great career experience. We are going to learn so much from you. You are going to learn a lot from us. We together are going to serve our customers really well, but let's be in regular communication about what it is that you want in your career. And how can we live at that intersection between what you want, what you're excited about, and what the company need is. And as long as we're continually talking about those things, I just think you're setting yourself up to have a really successful and sometimes really long-term relationships with a lot of the people on your team. Because if people feel that you actually care about them, you care about who they're becoming, and how you're helping them navigate seasons of their career. I just feel like if you're doing that, they're going to feel very valued and very committed to what it is that you're doing at your company.
Which is so opposite from the normal corporate culture, right?
Totally.
Like meeting with leaders, talking about what you want. I think it's so important as business owners to be sitting down and talking to your employees. And at least if you're not sitting down, depending on how big your team is, have the managers of those people sit down and talk to them so that everyone's on the same page. One of the things that you also talk about in the book is something you call humble confidence.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Yeah. So working at Apple, it's such a remarkable culture and environment. And I feel very fortunate to have learned for 3 years in that world. And so much of that learning I pulled over into all that I did as I was helping Dawn on the StoryBrand and Business Made Simple side. So one of my favorite leaders is Tim Cook, who now is the CEO. Actually, when I was working at Apple, there was a couple years that I was under Steve Jobs, which the fact that even in my career that I got to work under that as a CEO and then Tim Cook, I mean, it's mind-boggling. So cool. I wasn't interacting with these guys all the time, but just the fact that I was under their leadership is pretty fun. So Steve Jobs passes away and the person who'd been groomed to take over is Tim Cook. So at the release of the Apple Watch, there's a beautiful moment after this big announcement when Tim's being interviewed on national television and David Muir asks him, is this the moment for you, the moment of your career at Apple? And let's just think for a second how we would respond if we were Tim Cook in that moment. So remember, for the past couple of decades, he'd been under the radar. People had no idea all that he'd contributed to make Apple as successful as that it had become, right? So if we're Tim, we're probably wanting to just take advantage of that moment, let people know we have what it takes. And also give me a little bit of credit for crying out loud. Look at all that I've done. But what's beautiful to me is that's not at all how Tim responds. Is this the moment for you, the moment of your career at Apple? Tim says, Well, it's a moment for Apple. I don't really think about myself that much. And those two sentences for me tell me everything I need to know about the kind of shadow that Tim is casting as a leader at Apple. It is that humble confidence that you just asked about, because for me, it's confidence in that he knows the value that he brings. He doesn't need to remind everybody about it, but he also is humbled, enough to know that what does it take? Hundreds, if not thousands of employees for an Apple Watch to even come to life. For him to try to take the credit would be ridiculous. The spotlight mindset would want us to take the credit, but Tim doesn't take the bait. And so he models for us a version of success that is so inspiring to me that I hope more of us would adopt as leaders, which is, what if success is in giving credit to other people, recognizing them for their contribution, and being more concerned about that than trying to take the credit ourselves.
I think that's a perfect way to end this, wrap up this podcast. You talk about the secret society of success, what society tells us success is might not actually be as fulfilling as a different way that we can think about success, and how to get away from this spotlight mindset, empower humble confidence, and really assist the team to all level up together to provide the best value and make the most impact as a company. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I would love to wrap up with any final thoughts. And of course, I want people to know where to find the book, how to find you, if they want to get connected with you.
So if you go to secretsocietyfree.com, I actually have the first 2 chapters that you can download for free and get right in the book. And there's even an audio version of it if you want to just go and listen. So I read the audio book as well, narrated it, which was so fun. So if you go to
awesome.
Audible too, like that, it's me. I'm reading the whole book, which is super fun. So I'll leave you with this. It's a quote that for me has been a North Star as I was writing this book, and is going to continue to be a North Star for me as I navigate this next season of my career. Albert Schweitzer said, "I don't know what your destiny will be. Some of you will perhaps occupy remarkable positions. Perhaps some of you will become famous by your pens or as artists. But I know one thing, the only ones among you who will be really happy are those who have sought and found how to serve." So may we be people, leaders, who are all about the assist, who learn to redefine success for ourselves rather than being influenced by what culture tells us success is. And as we do that, may we seek to help others win. I think if we do that, we'll be headed in the right direction for sure.
Man, I love that conversation with Tim. He just has an energy that is so exciting. And you can just tell he is so passionate about this topic. This is a topic that more leaders need to hear about. So many times we might get stuck in that spotlight mindset or not really understand how we can assist our employees. If we want to build an amazing and rock star team, we have to level up our staff. We have to develop them. We have to meet them where they are at. It is so much easier to invest time developing instead of having tough conversations later. So if you are a gym owner or a manager and you're thinking, man, what could I do? I would challenge you to schedule individual meetings with all of your staff. Ask some simple questions. What are you wanting personally and professionally? How can I help you? What are you seeing for yourself? What are you seeing that I'm not seeing in regards to the business? So many times, especially as we grow our businesses and we're not in front of our clients every single day, our coaches, our nutrition coaches are going to see opportunities that we aren't going to see. And this is going to be able to help you decide, is this a path I want to take to expand and grow my business? Maybe one of your coaches is super passionate about something and you didn't really know until you sat down and met with them. In fact, that is something that happened with us at Healthy Steps Nutrition. I sat down with one of our lead dietitians, Amanda Haar, and we had breakfast away from the gym. We're having breakfast, and I asked her, is there an opportunity that you're seeing that I'm not seeing? She said, "Nicole, I'm so passionate about hormone health. I would love to create a program. I'd love to create app videos on hormone health. I'd love to run a challenge in the new year on hormone health to empower women to understand their bodies. Guess what? That's what we did. She did. She led up this project and she was so fulfilled by that. But, I think so many times we miss opportunities because we don't meet with our staff individually. If you are a nutrition coach or a coach listening to this podcast and you haven't met with your gym owner, reach out and ask them, hey, can we go for coffee? Can I meet with you? I'd love to talk to you to see how I can help grow this vision and impact more people. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and we will see you back here next week.